Yeah.
Wherever you see me, that's where Houston is. So I ain't gotta be doing just Houston artists. It ain't gotta be. I'm popping shit right now, Barry. You getting some fire shit right now.
I love it. I'm
turning up over here, man.
Go. Do it.
But nah, you know what I mean? On a serious note, bro. Like, I'm really out here on a mission from God, dog.
Donnie Houston in the building. Donnie, what's up, man?
What's going down, man?
Good to have you back, dude. I'm so ready for vacation. This is my second to last show. Tomorrow's my last show. I'm done for the year. Are you going to be doing podcasts through the rest of the year, or are you done for the year as well?
Bro, I did the Yin Yang Twins this weekend, but like, far as in studio podcasts, I haven't recorded in probably like almost 2 months.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just sitting on stuff and just putting it out.
Oh, that's super smart. Sometimes I wish I did that. Like this, doing a live show like this right here, where you have tech problems and the wrong names and shit like that. It's a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because you never know what's going to happen, and it's fun and it's live and it's every day. But it's a curse because I can't just record a bunch of shit and sit on it for 3 weeks like you're doing. God, it sounds amazing sometimes. Have you thought about doing anything live?
Yeah, I've done live stuff, and this wasn't even intentional, man. It's just what happened was I just shot so much stuff and then kind of changed the way I started putting out content. And so it was able to allow me to like stretch out things a little bit. So instead of running through, I don't know, maybe like 8 to 10 pieces, I can like stretch like maybe 5 or 6.
How many do you release a week?
A week.
Or a month,
Well, it's different, man, because I used to do one episode. Like, I think the first time we talked, I was just releasing like one a week, right? One full episode. But now I'll break them down. So you'll get one episode, and it might be stretched to like maybe a week and a half, depending on how long it is. And then you get the full one after that, right? So
Gotcha.
That's just kind of how it is.
Now, how did the Yin Yang thing come about? Because that was pretty dope, getting the Yin Yang twins. How did that all happen? It seemed like it happened kind of suddenly, huh?
Yeah, man. Well, it was just a partnership, man, that we were establishing with Steve Rogers over at 5015 and Faces and all of that. And so they have their Legends series that they're doing. And this was just the first one that we connected on and did it with the Yin Yang twins, man. So
that's badass. So you're going to be doing more of those then, it sounds like.
Yeah, should be. I don't want to say too much, but
Oh, yes. I can't wait, dude. More legendary groups or up and comers or both?
A little bit of both, man.
Yeah, buddy. That's what's up. Hey, real quick, we got a super chat from Total Dallas. He had a question for you. He said, question for Donnie. Heard anything about what 8Ball and MJG are up to as of late?
They're just being legends. You know what I mean? Like, just living
Wasn't there
off
a
legacy,
versus
man,
recently with them?
Yeah, they were just on the verses with 3-6. They came out for that, but I think they're just doing regular stuff like everybody else. Tour dates, you know what I mean? I don't know if they're working on music, but I know they're still doing shows and stuff like that. Like you said, the last thing we saw them on was the verses, but yeah, they're still around.
Who you got, by the way? If you had to pick, I'll put you on the. We're about to talk verses for a second. Who you got? 3-6 Mafia or 8Ball and MJG?
Are you talking about the Bone and 3-6 Mafia?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. It was Bone Thugs and 3-6 Mafia. Who did you have in that?
I went into it with Bone.
Okay.
And even then, I still walk away and say like, but this is me, right? This is me. This is middle school me. You know what I mean? Huge Bone Thugs and Harmony fan. Just happy to see like all 5 on stage at the same time, because if you're a fan of them, you know what I mean? Like there's very few times where you had all 5 at the same time. So to see all 5 performing and, on point and everything, like it was really nostalgia. But I can walk away from that and honestly say like it was closer to a tie than like a this one won, this one lost type of thing. Like Bone, I feel like, they held back some stuff. They didn't even do first of the month. You know what I mean? Like they probably had a bigger catalog, but you can't deny the energy that 3-6 came with, man.
No doubt. I tell you what, I slept on Bone Thugs and Harmony for a long time, and I think it was because of their association with Eazy-E. For some reason, I was not an Eazy-E fan after everything happened and the way it went down with Ice Cube, because I was a huge, I love me some Ice Cube, dude. That was my favorite rapper, writer, artist coming up. So when all that happened, I was like, I didn't even really give him a chance, but I had to separate Bone from Eazy-E and the rest of that feud, and then you start to really appreciate what they did and do, right? Like there's something about being able to harmonize with hip hop. Yeah, Nate Dogg comes to mind as a guy who took it to a whole other level. But Bone Thugs was one of those guys that kind of did something a little bit different that people weren't used to, but it could accept. So, if you could put a verses together, what would it be?
That's a good question, man. Man. I don't know. Like it's still verses I'm waiting on. Like, they announced the UGK and 8Ball and MJG and we never got that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, there are things like that I'm waiting on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I want to see more Southern stuff, like, maybe like a Plies versus Boosie or something, because they both, super big in the South, but basically they have these huge personalities as well. So it'll be entertaining as well as with the music they made. So, I hadn't really thought about that, but like I said, man, give me the UGK and 8Ball and MJG right now.
That's the one. I missed the Drake and Kanye one. Did it live up to the hype?
Well, that wasn't a versus. That was
what was it?
That was a concert.
Oh, I thought they did like a versus type thing. I guess I thought
it was set up like that, but it was more so Kanye doing all his classics and Drake doing his new album. So It wasn't really versus per se.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've got some things in the works for 2022. I'm guessing. What do you have coming down the pipe in 2022 for you?
I won't tell because.
Damn it, Donnie! Come on, I'm trying to break some news.
I'm like, people ask me like, what are you doing? What do you want to do, or what's next, or whatever. Like, I avoid that because I say that shit and then I'll see somebody like trying to beat me to the punch, and it's like,
really,
to get away from all that lame shit, man, you just gotta wait and see. You know what I mean?
Okay, no, that makes sense, dude. That's pretty shitty though. The people are doing that. You have, since you and I first met and talked. Well, we hadn't even met in person, which is we got to change that. But since you and I started talking back last year, dude, your rise in what you do has been meteoric and amazing, especially with the podcast and everything you're doing. Now you're doing shows at the museum. I mean, what have you had guys, and you talked a little bit about people trying to beat you to the punch. Has that become that big of an issue for you because of what you're doing and the trail that you're blazing?
Yeah. I mean, the truth is that, there were podcasts before I was doing podcasting, of course, but the consistency, I don't know if there's been a podcast, especially if you're talking about Houston hip hop, this consistent, this long. You know what I mean? There have been a lot to come, but this is like, I transitioned to call it the Donnie Houston Podcast 2 years ago, but when I interviewed Jay Prince, it was what they talking about, and I started that 4 years ago. So within 4 years, I've seen, a lot, and it's like, now, as you notice, even with the radio, you know what I mean? Like, they want to give the legends flowers now. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of Houston, history talk when that shit wasn't really a thing. You know what I mean? And I don't want to come off no type of way. Somebody probably thinking I might be feeling myself, but this is the real shit, though. You know what I mean? The only reason why I even started my podcast was because nobody was doing this. You know what I mean? Nobody really cared to tell these Houston stories, that have been here for 20, 30 years prior to me even doing what I'm doing. Radio was here. Other whatevers was here, and nobody tapped into that. Nobody. And now you look up, it's a lot of Houston history, the legends, the appreciate the city we love, and it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is.
Well, I tell you what, it's tough to be a trailblazer, man, because you unless the timing is perfect, you're never going to get the credit that you deserve, right? Like you said, you've been doing this for a hot minute, and now it's become in vogue because you've been doing it, and people see an opportunity to capitalize on it. So that sucks, but it's just like that's kind of the story of hip hop, right? I mean, when you look back, this city, this city is known. It's Screwston, right? Rest in peace, DJ Screw. But you talk about the trailblazers that came before that, right? There's guys that go fly under the radar, the K Renos of the world, which I wasn't familiar with, even that people had to bring to my attention, and the Ghetto Boys and UGK. So there's those layers to the onion, and sometimes we just sit on that surface layer because it's most recent to us. But man, keep doing what you're doing because you're educating a ton of people and reaching people that really needed to be reached, and you're doing it the right way, man. I love what you do, and I'm glad you do it because there's a lot of fake ass, I shouldn't say fake, but a lot of folks that just sees an opportunity and don't really. The difference between you and them is you're doing it because you're passionate about it. They won't last. That's a big difference in this game, man. You know how hard this shit is.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And that's the thing. I don't trip. Even with me saying that, like, if you're one of them people who now you have a sudden interest in wanting to, popularize Houston history, that's cool. Do your thing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
ain't tripping with you, man. Like, this is what happens. You know what I'm saying? On top of, like, I believe God got a plan for everybody, and mine is not the same as the next man's. I don't care. You may have a bigger name or whatever than me. That's cool. But like my path and what I'm on right now, this is specifically for me. So I'm gonna get everything I'm supposed to get, and I ain't worried about what everybody else is doing. Like, more power to you. You know what I mean? Like, I wish everybody the best. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Killing it. Now, I wanted to bring you back because I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened in this city. You talk about Houston hip hop. Let's talk a little bit about what happened with Astroworld and the result of that. Because a lot of people may not know this. They know you and your podcast. You're a DJ and a performer as well. You're a producer, like. So it's not just the podcast. You cut your teeth in Houston hip hop. You lived it. That's why you're the perfect person to tell the story. Talk a little bit about what this means, what the fallout from the Astroworld tragedy with Travis Scott and that concert means, not just for performances, but specifically for hip hop and rap in the city of Houston.
Man, it's unfortunate. I was there. I think that, now that time has passed, you're starting to get a little bit more balance as far as like the way people view it, you know what I mean, and opinion and like level of understandings, and really trying to figure out what the real guilt is, and not just saying like, oh, this rapper had this concert and he's responsible single-handedly for all these terrible things. And it's like, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Rest in peace to everybody who lost their lives there. It's really unfortunate because it was, just to be completely honest, like, it's one of the most amazing experiences I had going to a concert. You know what I mean? And I'm saying this on the front end, not the back end, because like you've heard most people say, nobody knew that the severity, or really if anything even happened, the night of. It was all the next morning you find these things out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in the moment, it was one of the greatest experiences I had, and I walked away from it that night saying that. And so, it was just unfortunate that the things turned out the way that they did, man. And hopefully, I don't know how you bounce back from this to bring it back again. I don't know if I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if you take time off. I don't know, but I think what he was doing, and I think that his intentions. And not even his intentions, because what he was doing amazing things in the city outside of Astroworld. You know what I mean? What he was doing with the parks, with the kids, all these different types of things. I think all those things are important and needed. We just have to figure out, like, how do you move forward, the best way possible. You know what I'm saying? So,
Will we see another Astroworld after this, or do you think it's done?
I can't say it's done, because you never know, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The truth about it is like, this is still a very huge artist. You know what I mean? And he has the resources to, figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't know how I would get out of something like that, but I'm not Travis Scott. I don't have the resources that he has. So I would imagine that, his team is figuring out a way to, like, rebrand it and bring it back, and, still have it as a thing that we can still enjoy it and not have this dark cloud hanging over it as it kind of does now.
It's weird because it wasn't like in the news beat this to death and maybe too much, but we had seen a couple of different instances of crowd control being a problem, and it's easy to blame the performer, but as a comedian, I can tell you this, and I talked about this after the tragedy at Astroworld happened. Sometimes even on a stage where, and you performed in front of thousands of people, right? Like you don't always know what's going on in the crowd. I think the biggest crowd I ever performed in front of was like 500 or 600 people. And all I could really tell you what was happening was right there at the front. Those first 3 or 4 rows, because it's one, it's hard to see. 2, it's hard
Everything
to
else
hear.
is lights.
Yeah, it's lights and it's loud, and you're focused on doing your job, whether it's DJ or comedy or rap or whatever, and you're listening to the music and trying to get the cues, and hell, maybe you're like Hammer and you got to remember your dance moves, and like you got all that shit going on. And then you might see something or hear something, and it's really difficult to deal with. So I think the easy thing to do is to blame the performer when, like you said, there's a ton of blame to go around. Have you ever been involved with anything like that or similar when you were on stage and, with hundreds and thousands of people in the crowd and you can see something happening?
Nah, I haven't. I haven't. Now I've been in situations where like they were showing the people like running up on the guy who's a camera guy, and they're trying to say like people are dying. And he was like shushing them away and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in that position, not necessarily with somebody telling people that dying, but somebody talking to me, and it's like, bro, get the fuck out of my face right now.
Yeah,
I'm
working.
To do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't even know what you're talking about right now. It may or may not be important, but I don't even have the time to figure that shit out because there's a show going on in front of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be in that position to really understand what really happened, or not even what happened, but really understand like how much control you could or could not have as a performer in that type of, position. So
it's difficult, man. I mean, I've been on stage at a comedy show when fights break out. Like they'll be in the, because you go to a place and it's unruly or whatever. And after the time, I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? I don't even know. Right. And I can't imagine at a concert. And we've all been at concerts where fights have broken out. And it's not as easy as people think. And I love the point that you made about the cameraman because, you're so focused on doing your job. And if he's not doing his job, he realizes he's going to get in trouble. So if people are trying to distract him, he doesn't know why they're trying to get his attention. He just knows I don't have time to give you my attention because I'm doing this singular thing that I'm getting paid good money to do. And if I mess this up, I may never get this job again. So I think there was a plenty of blame to go around. I'll tell you, Donnie, when I knew it was going to get ugly was when you started seeing the Tony Busbys of the world getting involved. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Once those lawyers start getting a hold of it and posting Instagram ads, it was like, oh, this is about to get blown into a whole new era of justice, I guess, for what happened. Because I got to be honest, and this sounds shitty, but there's going to be a lot of people that weren't affected that profit off of this. And that's the most tragic thing to me. The families that lost loved ones, absolutely. We should all do everything we can to support them, and they should, get whatever justice they need monetarily or what have you. But there's going to be a lot of people you and I know that are going to like see that ad and be like, yeah, I was traumatized. I need my $100 or whatever it ends up being. That's the real tragedy of this, is because people are going to profit off of it.
Yeah, so, most definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
sucks, man.
It sucks, but I fuck with Travis Scott, and I can't wait to see him come out on top when all this is over. You know what I mean? Of course, taking care of everybody and all the business and everything needs to be taken care of to make sure that is everything is straight. But like, I can't wait to see him come out of this. You know what I mean? Because I can't even imagine being in that position. So
no, and I don't know how you. But I don't know how you. I guess it helps if you have a good team around you to help you recover from that. But I mean, you saw it, that it upset him, and people were trying to make a big deal out of whatever. It's like you said, you didn't know, you were there and didn't know until the next day. So you can't imagine that these guys, I mean, I'm sure they knew at some point, that quicker than the rest of us knew. But you're still going on with your life, right? Like I think people were saying how Drake was out at a club or something afterwards, probably because he didn't know. Because I don't know.
I just did
Drake.
a show. I'm gonna go to the club afterwards. I just performed. Like this is normal. Yeah.
That's normal. Yeah, and it's not like you have 1,000 people around you at all times. You maybe have an assistant. You got some friends, and as soon as you're off stage, they usher you to the limo, and you're off to the after party. There's no okay. Let's take an assessment. How did this go? That shit happens next week. In an office somewhere, right? Like, I mean, so I think we have to be fair in how we judge everybody involved in this. And I don't think enough people were pissed off at Live Nation and pissed off at the county. And I think there needs to be more directed at them as well, right? Everybody owns a little bit of the blame in this. Do you think that this changes the way live performances in this city in general are handled going forward?
I think it changes not just the city, just period. You know what I mean? Like live performances in general, you can see immediately like artists being more attentive to the concert goers. You know what I'm saying? Like if anybody like they was passing out or anything, any of the slightest thing, everybody's like, wait a minute, stop the music. Okay, are you okay? I don't even think it's just the city, just in general, man. Like the game has changed forever because of Astroworld. The
And it's
concert performance game.
and it's not this isn't the first time it happened. It's just for some reason, it seemed to have been getting a lot more run and a lot more press, and I don't know why. But you and I both know this isn't the first time stuff like this has happened at concerts.
Yeah, no, it's not the first time. It's not the first time, man. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know what you do from here. Well, look, dude, I appreciate you joining. This was a lot of fun. We got to do this more often. I really do want to sit down with you at some point next year and just talk shop. And because, dude, I'm a big fan. I love what you're doing out there. It's definitely needed. Any plans to start branching out into Texas and beyond? Or are you just right now focused on your niche?
What you mean as far as the interviews?
Yeah. I mean, I know you're bringing in, like the Yin Yang Twins and stuff like that. But I mean, like right now, you're doing I feel like you're the perfect historian for Houston hip hop, right? Like, I mean, the rap scene in Houston, the hip hop scene in Houston, hip hop culture, screw culture in Houston. Is there the thought process of doing maybe a third coast, something larger than just what Houston is? Or are you like, nah, this is my passion and this is what I do?
Nah, well, that's the thing is that, like, it's a lot of Houston interviews, but, like, it's not just Houston. Mm-hmm. It's not just a Houston podcast, right? Like, my name is Donnie Houston. Everything else after that is going to be whatever. That's your Houston right there. You know what I'm saying? So I've done Spice One, who's from the West Coast. I've done Rockwilder, who's from New York. I've done Ninth Wonder, who's from, the Carolinas. I've done Fiend, who's from New Orleans. You know what I mean? So it never was just about Houston. It's just like, this is where we are. So of course you're gonna get this the same way, like the Breakfast Club at Hot 97. Like, they don't just talk to New York artists, but they're New York station. So most of the things they're gonna get are gonna be in closer proximity.
That makes sense.
The plan was never to be just the Houston podcast or just the Houston guy. It's just, one thing led to another, and like, to be completely honest, like I tell everybody, man, this shit is all trial and error, bro. Like, I didn't even intend on doing interviews when I started my podcast. You know what I mean? Let alone
what was the intent
to,
originally?
Like, other people in music. I was trying to stray away from that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I never told you the story?
No. I mean,
I didn't. Yeah. So my first, the Donnie Houston podcast is the evolution of What They Talking About podcast. So What They Talking About, that was the first edition of this, the first version of this podcast. But it was me and my friends, and it was more of like a Joe Budden type of podcast. So we would sit around and just talk about general shit. It would be just like sitting in a barbershop or some shit. You know what I'm saying? We talking about women, we talking about life, whatever. You know what I mean? Different types of things. And music might come up, but like, I was the only professional musician on the podcast, and I didn't want to like infuse or like force my life on everybody else, because everybody don't live that life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm music 24/7. Everybody wasn't like that. Some guys, married with family. Some guys, single fathers. Some guys, just doing different shit. And so, really, man, like, I was doing an interview with this cat, Johnny Binder, who's like a legend out here, like in the streets and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, legendary street cat from the 80s. And that led to a Jay Prince interview. And so Jay Prince became like he's the first Houston person that's a part of like the hip hop community that I ever interviewed. But even when I did that, it was never set out to be the Houston podcast. What happened was, over time, we changed the name because it was like nobody was paying attention to that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we sitting up there recording every week. We meeting every week. We recording. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's paying attention. And I just was hell bent on, I'm not gonna allow this thing to die. And so I was like, man, a desperate measure was calling it the Donnie Houston podcast. Like, okay, well, if they don't know what they talking about is, like, maybe because I'm kind of the only like visible guy, like maybe they may like a song I produced for Slim Thug or some shit and be like, oh, let me click on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, It was really a shot in the dark. You feel me? Like, it was not supposed to be called the Donnie Houston podcast. It was not supposed to be just me. It wasn't supposed to be interviews. It wasn't supposed to be music. You know what I'm saying? It's just all these things happen. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier about people coming in and now they want to do this Houston thing. They want to do, like, I don't care about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I never set out to do this. I'm literally going like, God just put me in these places, giving me these opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on some other shit. You feel me? So it may look like one thing, but like, really, I'm on God time, man. You know what I'm saying? What them boys said, I'm on a mission from God, man. You seen the Blues Brothers?
Yes.
Like, I'm really on a mission from God, and I'm finna start running with that. I like the way that sounds, but that's my life, bro. That's the realest shit I can tell you right now,
I
bro. Like,
love
I'm
it.
on a mission from God, dog. Anything you seeing me doing, some of that shit planned out, majority it ain't planned. It's just literally my hopes and dreams and prayers and God hearing me and open up opportunities, dog. So if you
I
want to
love
try
it.
to do what I'm doing, or you want to try to like you
But are
have
you?
ill intentions for me or one or whatever, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm on a mission from God,
So
man.
do you not want to embrace it? Because I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I'm so excited. Donnie's going to be back on tomorrow. We're going to talk about this, that. She was like, oh, Donnie Houston, he was the one that did that. Because I told her about when you had Liz on, right? Wasn't that her name? I forget her name again.
Dev Lemon.
Dev. And
Yeah.
she loved that episode, right? Because she had seen that. And but I was like, yeah, he's kind of become the de facto historian of Houston hip hop. And I know that's not what you set out to be. Is that something you don't want to embrace, or is it more of a, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not trying to do it? Because you are kind of becoming that dude with some of these
No. I embrace that.
epic
Yeah,
podcasts that you've released.
Yeah, no, I embrace that 1,000%. I'm just very big on like, don't put me in the box. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or you're just the Houston guy, because I'm not just a Houston guy.
No.
The Houston guy has, like I just told you know what I mean? All the people I've named from other regions, and it's going to continue to grow. I just did Yin Yang Twins. Like, there's so much more to come beyond Houston, but I'm going to always represent this H, and I'm going to always tie the city into whoever I'm talking to. Like, when I talk to a Spice One, who's a West Coast guy, I'm going to ask you, tell me about, which nobody else is going to ask you, when you do interviews, tell me about when you came to Houston and went to DJ Screw's house.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I become the Houston guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not only Houston. It's bro. When you see me, you see Houston. I'm Donnie motherfucking Houston. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wherever you see me, that's where Houston is. So I ain't gotta be doing just Houston artists. It ain't gotta be. I'm popping shit right now, Barry. You getting some fire shit right now.
I love it.
I'm turning up over here, man.
Go. Do it.
But nah, you know what I mean? On a serious note, bro. Like, I'm really out here on a mission from God, dog. All this shit is just shit I've thought and like wondered about, or like may have written down somewhere, or just, you know what I'm saying, pondered on for a minute, whatever. And it's like these things just starting to happen for me and open up, bro. So if you want to, if you look at me as a Houston historian or the Houstorian or whatever, I'll take that. You know what I mean? Just don't box me in.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because you and I, this show just started as out of necessity. It was just one of those things. I was doing radio. I got laid off. I was like, I guess I got to do something. The deckheads that have been supporting me since day one were like, do a show and we'll be there. And they have been. But it was just a general sports show. And this is like one of those things you and I need to sit down and have some drinks and talk about. But it was always about niching down. If you want to be successful on YouTube, or you want to be successful as a podcast, you got to have a niche. And so I look at you and I'm like, well, he's got his niche. It's Houston hip hop, but it's hip, Houston hip hop culture. But you can do an interview with the Yin Yang Twins when it comes up, or like you said, that list of non-Houston artists that you're able to get. And I'm jealous because I'm like, I'm just doing sports. I don't really have a niche, right? I'm like, I try to be funny and talk sports. I'm like, I need to niche down some and then go out and do the other shit. So I look at you and I'm jealous because you did it the right way from the get-go. And I'm like, damn, I should have just been like a Houston Texans podcast.
Yeah, nah, man. I think your niche is being buried. That's your niche. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go out and do whatever you want, but nobody's gonna conduct the conversation like you. You feel me? My niche is, I don't look at my niche as being like Houston. Like, I guess you can kind of say that, but like my niche is like, I don't give a fuck who I'm talking to. When we're done, it's gonna be two different conversations. Now, you can be the judge on say which one is better. I don't really care about that shit. I'm just saying, like, I bring me to the table. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's deep, man. No, that's deep. That's real. That's real.
That's my niche. So that's my thing. Like, nobody can be you better than you. So if you being you, that's your niche. You know what I'm saying? Whatever else come after that.
That's true. And I hate you for being right. But that's so true. Okay, so last question I have for you. How much do you get caught? Because you just said there may be somebody that does the same interview or interviews somebody like that you have, but yours is going to be authentically you and theirs is going to be theirs. Do you get caught up in the numbers? Because I know for me, Donnie, dude, it's so hard not to like constantly be checking how many are watching, how many watched, how many are going to watch. That's something that I really have to fight on a daily basis, is not obsessing over the numbers. Because, this is a numbers culture now that we live in with social media. How many likes you got, how many followers you got, how many people watch, how many this. It also translates into revenue. You know that as well. You
Right.
want to be a signed artist, you better have your numbers up. You want to get a record deal, you better already have your numbers up. How much do you obsess over your numbers?
Oh, all the time.
I was looking at you for some wisdom. I was hoping you'd be like, never, Barry. Get on my level.
All the time. All the time, man. I mean, it's natural, bro. At the end of the day, we're creatives, you know what I'm saying? We love, the shit that comes with being a creative, you know what I'm saying? Like, you talking about obsessing over that. Like, yeah, I mean, in a sense, I wouldn't say I obsess over it, but I can definitely tell you, like, if I'm in my phone, all the time, multiple times throughout the day, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna check Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube numbers. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Like,
That's it.
Those are the four that I'm cycling throughout the entire day. I'm looking to see what's going on, and I'm not looking at anybody else's numbers. I'm just looking at mine and trying to figure out, okay, am I doing good today? Do I need to make adjustments? Are they really hitting on this? Like shit like that. But like, yeah, of course, always looking at the numbers, bro, because it matters. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, my numbers matter. I don't really get too caught up in what anybody else is doing, but I'm always looking to see, like, how am I doing? What adjustments I need to be making.
Yeah. And it's the business side of it, right? You got to, people will tell you shouldn't care about the numbers, but you and I both know you have to, because the numbers are going to speak volumes about what it is you're doing and if you're heading down the right path. So, dude, this is dope. I can't wait. We definitely need to sit down and have some drinks and just talk shop with no cameras on. I would love that more than anything. So we need to make that happen next year.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Hey, tell the people how they can find you, Donnie.
Listen, man, follow me. I'm Donnie Houston on everything. I am DonnieHouston. Subscribe to Donnie Houston TV on YouTube. Follow Donnie Houston Podcast on Instagram. Follow Don Hugh Podcast on Twitter. DonHou Podcast. That's on Twitter. And yeah, man, just stay, holler at me, man. Y'all see me out, holler at me, man. Follow me, tap in, man. I appreciate everybody who watches what I'm doing, Barry. I appreciate you, you know what I mean, for inviting me. I appreciate you just for the encouraging words, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
I'm a big fan, homie. A big fan, man. And I appreciate what you do, not just for Houston, for the hip hop community and beyond, dude. I'm sure you inspire a lot of artists to get out there and do the same thing, man. Keep doing what you're doing, Donnie. And we'll talk next year for sure.
For sure. Definitely, man. I appreciate you, man.
Bet. That is Donnie Houston, man. Make sure you go follow and support him. Daddy's making a YouTube video.